have Mel, who is from PNE and is supporting startups and social entrepreneurs. We have Kate Duffy from Junction, who's also comes from an amazing organization supporting and educating social entrepreneurs in the region. And we have Dometi, who is a social entrepreneur herself. And so that's it from me, and I will hand over to Efti.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Julia. So I'm taking a seat. So we're going to start. I'm just trying to find my way with that microphone. So we're going to start with some questions, as Julia mentioned. And I would like to open this discussion by asking our lovely ladies here to briefly spot on their social entrepreneurial journey. Mel, would you like?
Absolutely happy to start. Thank you very much for having us here. And hello, can I get a hello?
Yeah.
That's what I just like to make sure you're awake. Right, so my name is Melissa Middleton. I'm from a place in the northeast called Hartlepool, which is classified as one of the most disadvantaged places in the whole of the UK. If you've ever been, it's beautiful. It's got a beach. That's it. So I moved to Newcastle when I was 18 years old to study politics. Boo. Boo. And then I went on to do a master's in social research, a bit better. And then I did a PGCE, so I could say I'm a teacher. Absolutely fantastic. I am now, I started as a business advisor for a company that I still currently work for called Project Northeast, based in Newcastle. We are a social enterprise. We are 43 years old. Started as a social enterprise, continue to be a social enterprise. And the reason why we do that is we're passionate about helping anyone, any postcode, any age, it doesn't matter, to kind of find out about whether starting a business is the right thing for them to do. So there's no commitment to start a business. It might be just education in the entrepreneurship world that'll lead them into a job later on. But what we realised is communities want this, communities want to do that learning. And on the back of that, I decided that personally I wanted to go a little bit further with my social entrepreneur journey. So I decided I wanted to get into some sort of education without being a teacher, because I can't be bothered with paperwork and red tape. So I applied to be the chairman of Newcastle City Learning. And I am now the chair of Newcastle City Learning, and I'm proud to have been that for at least 5 years. And that allows me to inspire and educate our younger generation and our adult generation across the whole of Newcastle, as well as helping me to start with my own business. Oh my goodness, it goes on forever. So I also own something called a KIC, a community interest company that looks after and supports the people of Blakelaw, specifically in Newcastle, which again is mirroring what my bringing up was in Hartlepool. Very disadvantaged area. It was a very disadvantaged area. Didn't even have access to a post office, things like that. So I wanted to do something to help the people of that area. And that is my journey of madness. And may long it continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mel. Kate, please.
I think, can everyone hear me okay? So, is that working? Or? Hello. Yeah, and this one. Hello. Is this one better?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to skip a little bit of mine and just sort of go straight to the point where I set up Junction CIC. So it was my first CEOship in a charitable organisation, and within 9 months I had to close it due to indiscrepancies that could have been, at best, people making mistakes, at worst, potentially a little bit of fraud. So it was a really tough introduction to working in the not-for-profit sector. I must apologise, I will be out of breath. It's because I'm pregnant. It's not all the case, but I'm really out of breath, sorry. So at that point, there was a bit of a decision gate for me. I'd already done quite a lot of different things where I'd really thrown my passion behind them. So I'd worked in international development, working with the Fair Trade Foundation, supporting artisans and farmers to access funding so that they can become fair trade farmers. I'd worked in genocide prevention, I'd worked in community development, so I really, found my passion in these things of supporting people to make a difference. And the thought of then having to find something else to do was quite a challenge. And suddenly I realised that actually what had gone wrong with this organisation is what goes wrong with lots of organisations within this sector. It was people with that absolute best of intentions, but none of the skills and the knowledge to back that up. And that's then when I decided to start up Junction Point. So this was 6 years ago. So we're still babies really in terms of the social enterprise sector. But Junction Point now supports change makers ranging from people in the community. So we do a lot of community development work, trying to inspire people to make a difference each day, all the way through to the kind of more traditional business development support. So working with charities, social enterprises, and purpose-led businesses. So this is all about inspiring and empowering people to be able to make a difference each day in the way that they can with their experience and their life journey that's brought them to this point. So I think that's me in a nutshell.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kate. Afi, please.
Hello, my name is Afi Dometi. I'm from West Africa, Togo. I moved to this country in 2002. I was 29 years old. As you can hear, I have a very strong accent. And I created my organization to help women who are not from UK or who have French or different language as first language. It's quite difficult for some of us who don't have English as first language to integrate positively in this country. So from traffic ginger, I remember my first year, I was going somewhere and the lady called me and asked me, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm late. I'm coming, but I'll be there. There is traffic ginger." Because I hear somebody say traffic jam before, and because I can speak English, I thought the person said ginger. So I said traffic ginger, and she was laughing. After 1 year, she saw me at Newcastle College, and she started communicating. I'm like, "I can speak English." She said, "You can speak English, you know?" I said, "Yeah, I'm trying." So I created the organization to help people, if I can do it today, from traffic ginger to a founder of a business, a social company. Anybody else can do it. After 2 years, I went to Northumbria University. I did business degree for 4 years. Learned English 1 year at Newcastle College. And I worked for a company called North of England Refugee Service. I realized that all the women coming to ask for help, they can speak English, they don't work, they are isolated, they have mental health problem. So I decided to create Africawad Recycling CIC. I don't want to depend on somebody giving us money every time. What I can do to create income and help women who volunteer for us, and also help women back home, a young girl, to have education. So in 2015, I created a company. We collect second-hand clothes from people, we buy from people, we have a supplier, and we send a container to Africa. Those women come to the shop, help us sort everything out, and we send to Africa. Every month we send one container. One container is about 24,000 kilo of clothes. Yeah. So our turnover is about 300,000 pounds a year now. And we pay school fee for young girls in Africa with a part of the profit, and also help more than 30 women in the Northeast to get into a permanent full-time job. That's my journey.
Thank you very much, Afi. Thank you. So how do you see the role of social enterprises evolving in promoting equality, inclusivity, and diversity, especially when we are referring to the Northeast? Whoever would like to pick that?
I've wrote loads of notes. I was winding them up earlier saying I've wrote 4 pages of notes because I'll forget everything. So I don't mind starting on that. So I think my little note here, which is what my brain is made up of, is social enterprises, I don't even need to say it, are run by passionate people. They see problems in their local communities, or they just see problems hands down where they have the skills to be able to do something. That's what Afi's done, that's what Kate's done, that's what we do. They are usually embedded and often live in the local area that they want to support, and they have lived experience as well. I couldn't help anybody start up a business if I'd never started a business myself, because it'd all just be theory, that's for sure. And the other side of this as well, the other role I think social enterprises help is something that I teach on a regular basis, which is social enterprises have a duty within their business to shout, and to shout loud, not just fix problems, but tell people and other politicians, for example, or influencers that there is something that needs to be fixed, and we have the solution for that fix. So there's my 2 cents for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that we're known as being a quiet sector. I think for all of our one-to-ones, it's like you'll plan for an hour, but actually it'll be 2. I think we're quite good talkers, really, this sector. But yeah, completely agree. I think that the kind of the heart of social enterprise is that it's a grassroots movement. This is about people doing something for themselves, which is, in terms of the financial structure of social enterprises, I think this is where it's really key that people are developing traded models for their social enterprise, because with that independent money comes independence, so that you can champion the causes that are really important to you, and you can be agile and respond to the need that's in front of you. Whereas perhaps the more traditional charity structure it can be quite limiting with the grants that are available, that it could be postcode specific, or it could be that there are clauses in place that mean that they don't want you to talk about certain elements of politics. So yeah, I think it's a grassroots independent movement, really. I think that collectively, if there was a way of us working more collaboratively, I think that there's quite a force there to be reckoned with, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant.
Do I have to answer as well?
If you want to add something on top of that's great. That's fine, I think. That's absolutely
You can go
fine.
first on the next
So-
one.
That will be better.
Okay, so the next one refers to the collaboration between social enterprises and local communities and international partners. So I would like to hear your perspective on how can social enterprises engage more efficiently and effectively with local communities and international partners, especially when referring to inclusivity and promoting inclusivity.
That question is a bit difficult on the international side.
Mhm.
For the local sides, everything is okay. You can work with people, call the women, find them a job, apply for grant. They don't give us grant. They don't trust some of us, especially if you can't write English properly.
Mhm.
It's quite difficult for you to get a grant.
Mhm.
But on the international sides, they don't trust. Yeah, trust you to work with people internationally.
Mhm.
It's like over there, it's like corruption is too much.
Mhm.
I remember applying for a grant last year, and they want me to convince them that I'm not going to help people overseas
Mhm.
before they give me the grant.
Mhm.
So working with people here is all right. You can prove that you've done this, but internationally, I don't know, maybe Kate or Adele, can help me a little bit with that.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree. I think that there's probably 2 elements of this. I think in terms of direct delivery of service provision to your beneficiaries, your customers, whatever you want to call them, I think that is expected to be really well connected for social enterprises. So your customer or your beneficiary should be at the heart of everything that you're doing. Their voice should be dictating what you're doing. There's a famous saying that's you write your impact statement, you write your destination in pen, and you write your journey in pencil. And I think that that's really important at that grassroots level to be able to be responsive to that need. I think that the other side of that then is about linking the community of social entrepreneurs themselves.
Mhm.
And I think that can be done, and it is done very well at an international level. There are, of course, very successful international social enterprises where their community is international. So I'm not saying that can't work. It's relevant to the model and the very specifics of your social enterprise. There's the Social Enterprise World Forum, which is a brilliant networking opportunity. There's events each year. It was Amsterdam this year. Lives in the plot. So, that community is very much there. I think something that we found recently is that there seems to be a drop-off point with social entrepreneurs' appetite to work in collaboration and to share that best practice. That in the pre-start phase, sort of up to probably 3-4 years, people are very idealistic, they're very passionate, and they're just wanting to do what's right for the customer or the beneficiary, and are prepared to take less pay or whatever needs to happen to make it work for that person to get what they need. I think that the more commercially successful social enterprises get, I think the more guarded they become then of their traded income, because obviously they need their business to succeed. So when you're kind of seeing organisations hit the 6-7 year mark, that seems to be where people certainly talk the talk of collaboration. But quite often what they mean is, if you've got some money and you want to work with me, you want to pay me to do that, then I will collaborate with you, which isn't necessarily what we're going for in terms of true collaboration. So I think there's still a lot of work to do there, because we do need to be commercial. We do need to be business savvy. That's very much part of this sector. But I think that we need to be really careful that we hold true to our values as well, and make sure that it is always that customer is at the heart. And I think that is also the answer to how we improve equality and diversity and inclusion. So for us at Junction Point, we've recently found that quite a lot of our participants are neurodivergent, or they've got particular accessibility needs. So all of our training events have had to be adapted to make that possible for that group of people. But actually what we found is that it made it better for everybody. Yeah. It wasn't that it was, a ticky box for one person in the room. It actually meant that everybody was enjoying it a lot more. They were able to interact easier. There were more opportunities for the people that were just generally quieter and generally wouldn't have had an opportunity to talk. There were spaces for people to break out. So that was led by our community voice that allowed us to be more inclusive. And for us now, we're just seeing that community sort of gravitate to us even more because we're now building this reputation of being inclusive, and wherever possible, we share that as best practice.
Just repeat. But I will refer to my notes as I have written. So one of the things I've written here is be present, be communicative, work together and never siloed. And I completely understand where my colleagues here are coming from as well. That is not something that people find easier once they've hit the 7-year mark, the 10-year mark, the 20-year mark and things like that. I think what organisations, especially those that label themselves as social enterprise companies, need to do is go back to the drawing board, look at the values and think, collaboration is not about money. Yeah. There is no direct link with that, absolutely not. The only extra things I would add here is there's something called the United Nations. We heard of them?
Yeah.
You can boo if you want. They have something called SDGs. And that is where all of the countries in the United Nations have agreed to do something about the environment, about the equality of education, for example. And that's something that is gaining a lot of traction at the moment. And if it's not something you're familiar with, I would definitely look it up. We have a lot of conferences about that, especially in Glasgow and Scotland, but also in other parts of the country, internationally as well, where you can find out more about those. And it's about helping social entrepreneurs and social enterprise businesses support the SDGs to overcome the barriers that have been identified by the United Nations. And the only other thing I would say is how can you effectively engage locally and internationally and promote inclusivity question is showcase those solutions that work. Measure your impact. I use a lovely lady, you might have heard of her, called Kate from Junction Point, to collaborate with, to deliver some sessions from me on measuring impact. It is one of the most important things a social enterprise business, what any business needs to do, because what is the point of doing what you're doing if you can't say what you've actually done? So definitely communicate your impact on that as well. And there you go.
Thank you to all of you. I would like to ask you to step back a little bit and just look at your career and just identify a piece of wisdom, any specific insight that you would like to share with us in your role as a woman social entrepreneurship leader.
As a woman, I would like to tell all my fellow women not to be scared, not to hide behind our men. We can be in front sometimes. We have skill to do that. I have a passion, I have a determination, but if I want to be scared, I will be hiding. So anything I have, I put it on plate. If I need help, I ask people, how do you want? And they ask Kate help, ask Linda help, I ask everybody help. And with that, we can go forward. We can help our men to build a better world.
Great, thank you.
I think probably for me at the moment, being pregnant is quite a big thing in my life. And this is going to be my second daughter. And I think what I've learned over this period of time is that you need to be really sure and really clear about what success means to you, because social enterprise is the same as any other enterprise. Quite often it's measured in financial indicators. So are you growing? Are you reaching more people? Are you, move, fast. I think being really clear about what your enterprise means to you, as well as having those values that you've brought into your organisation, need to be balanced really carefully. Something I've really struggled with this time, leading up to maternity leave, is letting go of some of the opportunities and the clients that are really needing an extra bit of help and that kind of stuff. But realising that there has to be that balance then in terms of what's good for you, as well as then what's good for your clients. So I think because we are, heart-centred people, we're setting up social enterprise because we want to make a difference. It's being careful maybe to find those boundaries. So making sure that you're really clear about what it means to you to run this organisation, but equally what it means then in terms of your values, that they're being echoed through your organisation.
I like that. Now, I'll be honest, I cheated. I wrote my own, but then I asked two women social entrepreneurs who really inspire me in the northeast of England to also answer this question as well. So the one from me is simple word: belief. Believe in yourself, believe in your abilities. It doesn't matter about anyone or anything. If you truly believe you can do something, you will make it happen.
Yeah.
I live by that. That is my thing. And belief means a lot of things to different people, absolutely, but belief is what you truly believe in. But the two ladies who have been with me for the last few years have inspired me, and I've watched them grow, and they're going to be so embarrassed if they watch this as well. The first one is a lady called Kylie Dixon. Some of you might be aware of it. She's all over social media. She set up something called the Northern Lass Lounge. And she said to me, build a community. She said, the things I have learned about myself, about business, and how important the right people around you are, has all come from the power of community. And I love that so much. I know, isn't she gorgeous? And the other lady is actually, I'm not brown nosing, but it's my chief exec, who's called Tracy Moore. Follow her on LinkedIn, it's absolutely amazing. And she's mirroring essentially what my two ladies here said. She said, stay true to your values, your ethos, and don't get pulled in by other people's agendas. Stay true. It doesn't matter what the funding people are wanting. It doesn't matter what the politicians are wanting. Absolutely not. If you know that there's a demand for your service and genuine people, the beneficiaries, are asking for that, that's what you need to stick with. So stay true. So I cheated a little bit.
Thank you very much to all of you. I think that we should open that to the audience and just see whether we have any questions from the audience.
Okay, I was just going to ask, do you know of any sort of female networks that just promote female entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs? Because it'd be nice, because I meet so many different social entrepreneurs and they're kind of under the radar. So do you guys know anyone who runs a network?
That's really going to irritate me, because I feel like I have seen something, but I can't remember what it's called. I might have to pass on the details when I'm driving home. I'll send them over to Yulia so she can share them with you. But I definitely think there is one starting up. Yeah.
It was Women into the Network.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what it's called.
Can't think. Sorry. Yeah. I'll give you a shout.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I give one more as well? I mentioned the Northern Lass Lounge.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's not just about an online Facebook group, it's about meeting in person as well. So that is a powerful, powerful community group that was started in lockdown, and now, my goodness, it's everywhere. Really powerful group of North East women who genuinely want to help each other, whether that's in business or just in life, absolutely. And there was the Women into the Network group as well, but I don't know if that exists anymore. But I'll do the same as Kate as well. I'm pretty sure there is one that is starting up, so I'll make sure that you get some details on that as well.
Brilliant, thank you, Mel. Anyone else? Yes, please. I'm just going on. It's your turn now.
Whatever the question.
So setting up an enterprise is not really an easy task, and I know all of you must have gone through a lot of like speed bumps. What would you say has been one of the most hardest thing getting over, like trying to face that?
We're all now going through trauma, just picking the worst one. It's true.
Well, it's working together with the directors. I have 3 directors in my team. The passion you have, the vision you have, they will say, oh yeah, we like your vision and we work with you. It will reach a point when some of them will just think about money and you want to help people. So you can start the business, the organization with 4 people, and 2 years later, everybody will be gone and you have to bring other people in. So when it happened to me, it was quite difficult, but I think I was blessed by chasing them away and having other people in, and we have the same vision now and everything is perfect. So be careful who you work with. People talk a lot, but they don't have same vision or passion like you. Not everybody wants to help others. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's not a straight line in terms of setting up and growing an organisation. I think the biggest lesson for me is realising that it's phases. So I think probably we've just come through one of the more challenging periods of time. So whilst we left Europe a while ago, the funding actually only came to an end sort of back end of last year. A year prior. I lost a year. And the UK equivalent of that funding didn't really come online until really January this year. So that left us with 9 months worth of what was our ordinary contract related work just absolutely coming to an end. And I think nobody could quite believe that was what was going to happen. So we were all waiting for this, miraculous appearance of this money, and it never happened. And I think the biggest lesson for me in that was I knew it wasn't going to be easy. We know these things take time in government, and yet somehow it didn't trigger a response. So I think for me, always being on your guard in terms of your risk assessments and being able to look up, do your pestle analysis, that kind of stuff, making sure that you are not just stuck in the operations in the day-to-day, because if you look up at the wrong moment, it's going to be too late. We've been quite fortunate that we've managed to sort of muddle through and get through this period of time. But already now, learning that lesson, we're heading towards changes at a local level in terms of the combined authority. We've got the general elections coming up. So there's potentially another period of real upheaval from a funding perspective. And for us, funding, I mean contract, not grants. Grants are totally separate. I think whilst it's been really difficult, I think there's been some really good lessons for us to learn. So I think some of it is have a growth mindset with this. Take the lessons. Don't see it as failure. See it as, well, we won't do it that way next time. We'll do it in a different way.
We've had lots of bumps. I'm just trying to think of a personal one. Was I didn't realise how difficult it was to get a post office in the community centre. That's the first one. But I think the biggest one for me is actually having to explain what a social enterprise is. Yeah. It's like, if you put me in a room with people and say, explain what a social enterprise is, by all means, I'll talk to the ends of the world. But you can see, not in here, because these are all looking like you know what's going on. But in some places, 75% of the room will look at you and go, you want to make money, but you want to do something to help the community as well, and you're giving a discount for what you're doing and you're not charging as much as the commercial people who are doing the same thing because you're a social enterprise. Don't get it. So I think there's a lot around communication and education around what is a purpose-led person, what is a purpose-led business, not necessarily a social enterprise, but somebody who genuinely doesn't want to make £1 million and live on a desert island. Absolutely not. It's somebody who wants to make some money to live off and then give something back. The amount of looks I get from people who are just like, why are you doing that for nothing? It's like, I'm not doing it for nothing. I'm getting something out of it and it's in my soul.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that was the greatest stumbling block. So prepare yourself for being able to explain why and how you do what you do, and the impact that will have, and prepare for the glazed looks. Yeah, but keep explaining it and people will get it. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Any other questions from the audience, please? Yes.
It's your turn to go first now.
I wanted to sit in the middle.
My question is about building a team. Like, what is your approach? How do you attract talented people who actually have the same vision as you do? And like, what are the attributes that you're looking for? And in order to actually find those, what questions do you ask, like at the interviews, for example?
Do you want to
Yeah.
go? Yeah, it's another nice one, isn't it?
When you want to recruit people and create a community interest company, I think it's gonna be difficult to go through interview. You have to know those people a little bit and spend the time talking to them for about 2 weeks at least, because people are recruited to begin with. I thought they were my friends. And in my mind, I thought we have same thing. But you need to talk to people a lot and find out from at every angle to make sure that, okay, I want to help those people to become independent. I want to help them find a job. I want to help them do this and that, be able to talk in public, be able to do this. Does Kate have the same vision like me? She can say, oh, it's a lovely idea, okay? But inside herself, okay, I'm not going to be giving half of our profit to other people. I want all the profit for us. So you need to ask them a lot of questions and go home, analyze those answers and say, oh, I don't think this person is the person for me. You need to find. There are a lot of people. They are nice people, horrible people. So ask them a lot of questions and find out about the right person to work with. That's what I can say.
I think for us, we've always we've gone for the intention and the passion over the qualification and the kind of core skills, because I kind of think we can teach that. Our interview process is we've had really lovely feedback from our interview process, so we will give people their questions in advance. We'll give them feedback on their CV and ask them questions in advance of the interview to say, you didn't really shine in relation to this, so just, we'd love to know more about that. So it's as much as possible trying to get that person to show you their true self, not sort of just sit behind I've got an A level in this, or I've got a, whatever, I've done this work experience. We really want to see the passion. So one of the questions that we ask them is tell us about something that you're really passionate about. The sneaky hope is that it's going to be something that we're passionate about. I did have one lady who was wonderful, but told me how great fast fashion was because she could wear something different every day, and it's like, no, that's not really what I was looking for. So there's kind of opportunities there for you to find the personality. I think the other side of the coin with that is making sure that your HR policies and your policies and procedures are in place, so that actually if somebody is just very good at interview and not necessarily echoing the values of your organisation, you can move them on in a really positive way that's just, this is not a fit. So we have had experience in the past where, for us, one of our core values is about being really non-judgmental. So if you come to me with a crazy idea that, you know, you're going to make millions of pounds doing something totally bizarre, it's absolutely not my job to tell you that that's crazy. My job is to say, wow, let's get this down on paper and let's work it through and logic check things and put it through different models so that we can be really sure that you are the first person to come up with this, and maybe that's because this is genius, or maybe it's because we've missed something. Some of our former team members didn't necessarily have the patience for that approach. So it's being really clear about those values, but also what you're going to do if they don't fit. Because I think if you've got one person, whether they're working on administration or the CEO, whoever it is, if they're not echoing the values of the organisation, you've lost it.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that you can keep pulling it back and putting things in place to encourage those values.
So I mentioned before that P&E is about 43 years old. So one of the questions that we always ask in interview is, tell us, what do you know about P&E already at the interview? And the reason for that is because we've done a lot. You know, 43, I'm not 43 by the way, I haven't been there since day but it's testing their ability to research, for one thing, and to also pick out the things that they thought were relevant about the organisation.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually did some interviews not too while ago with my colleague Lisa, who'll kill us for mentioning her name, but there you go. And we do have a set number of questions, and that first question on P&E is, what do you know about them? And sometimes people will say, well, I've looked on your website and I saw a very recent article. But the ones that we like are the ones that, well, I've looked around, and one of the things that I remember from a couple of years ago is when you did this thing in this place with those people, and that's where it goes, right, you're not just interested in having a job, you're interested in making a difference because you remember that from the past. A couple of the other questions that we'll ask as well is very similar to these guys, is what are you passionate about? Tell us a story of how you inspired somebody or about how somebody inspired you. And what we're looking for, I'll just be totally honest in that interview, is how you articulate yourself. And the last question we always ask is, how far do you go with helping somebody, in this case, setting up a business? Do you go beyond that? Because we want people to be employed to do a role, absolutely, but we also want them to be passionate about supporting them and maybe go above and beyond as to what you expect to do. But please don't message us at 3 o'clock in the morning on Facebook. I'm likely to reply, and that's not good. So it's little things like that where it's about getting to know the person, getting to know their passions, and getting to see that they've done some time to research the company that they're going for before they go for the position, and can really eloquently talk about what it is that company does that they've seen in the past. So they're not coming for a job, they're coming for a career and a way to change people's lives. Yeah, hope that helps. Get the job. See you tomorrow.
Brilliant, thank you all of
you guys are really inspiring. I just wanted to ask, you said that being in a social enterprise is a really loud community, you have to talk. But how can I make sure that my loudness matters? Like my voice stands out. I don't just want to be loud, I want to be heard. So like, what advice do you have?
So I think part of the collaboration sort of question earlier, one of the things that I wanted to say was about system change. So one of the things that I think the sector is getting better at now is people not working completely in isolation, but rather mapping out who the partners, who the collaborators are, who else is moving in this arena, and understanding that they have a domino effect on the impact that you can have. Collectively, if you can join forces with that system, that is going to amplify your voice, it's going to add credibility to it, and direction. I think that if we're all shouting on our own about our own thing that we're doing behind closed doors, or in a very specific area, we're not going to be very efficient. I I think the Northeast is actually brilliant for networking events and
Networking,
bringing
yeah.
people together. So it's about finding your tribe and making sure that it's you work with those organisations and you feed into those existing frameworks rather than trying to set up something that's going to work in parallel. So yeah, I think systems change, I think, for me.
So same thing, just networking.
Mm-hmm.
I knew few people who helped me to be where I am today. So when you start, try to communicate with people, ask for help. Yeah, a lot of organizations, they will help you to find the right network and you'll be fine.
I'll give you a practical tip because they're totally right. But hashtags. Hashtag everything. And the reason why I say hashtag everything is that's you shouting about something. But it's also a way for others who have got a similar hashtag that they're using to be able to search for you, collaborate with you, and start a discussion with you as well. So one of the most important things to remember is not just a social enterprise, but a business is do shout about your impact, do shout about what you're doing, but also celebrate what the other competition are doing as well. The collaborators are doing. So if Junction Point says they've helped 300 people set up in business last year and we've helped 300 businesses last year, the North East has had 600 businesses start up this year. Get in, let's shout about it together. But comment on other people's things. I'm very practical side of things on social media. Don't just put a LinkedIn post saying I'm doing this, which I'm very bad at, by the way. I'm doing this. Instead, comment on other people's things so you can show that you're working in collaboration with them as well. But you're totally right, like surround yourself with similar people and shout together rather than shouting in silo. Absolutely. Be loud.
Can I just add to that as well? The other thing is make sure it's evidence-based. So it's making sure that there's credibility behind what it is that you're shouting about. I think that the challenge now with chat GPT and social media, that everybody has a platform. So it's making sure that is it right for you to have a platform? And if so, making sure that everything is backed up by evidence. And as we said earlier, having that community voice at the centre of everything that you're saying. So making sure that they're comfortable with how you're presenting them. I think that can quite often be a little bit awkward on social media where people are saying, oh, we're working with all these deprived people. Are you? Is that how they would describe themselves? So it's just making sure that you really think it through, not just putting out anything, but rather making sure there's evidence behind it.
Brilliant, thank you. Any more questions? Yeah.
Hiya, I just wanted to ask, have any of you ever experienced any sexism within your careers? And if you have, how have you navigated that?
I've not, well, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I'm too strong.
Yes.
I got married 4 years ago to my first boyfriend. We have been separated for 28 years. When we were together when I was doing year 10 and he left for Germany. So we just get back together 4 years ago through Facebook. And when he came to Newcastle, the way I was shouting, put this here, container, it's going this is it. It's like, eh? It's the same person I know 20 years ago. You are different and you are shouting, you're not even scared of men because to load the container, I need big men. And I was not scared. I just shout and say, do this and do that and this. If I go somewhere and you try to be sexually, you want to harass me, I just tell you the truth. Since Africa, that's how I was. I couldn't go to 4th year at university because the lecturer wanted to sleep with me. Sorry to say this. And I say no. And one day I'm telling myself I will go back and tell him that I came to Europe and I went to university. I got my degree here. And I want to let you know that women are not your sex material. You people need to change your way of living. So I don't deal with that. Just tell you the truth.
Yeah, I was going to say that needed a clap. So I think I've grown up in quite a strong female household, to be honest. So my mum and dad ran a garage, and my mum was very much the business mind behind that. And it's not that long ago that it used to be that garages had the pin-up, sun models and, all of that kind of stuff. And watching my mum navigate that and get the guys to do as they're told and bring in new health and safety procedures when all of that came on board, you can imagine that was fun. So I think I've had quite a strong role model there. However, in one of my first roles, there was a piece of work that I'd been leading on. It was very high profile. I was so excited to be involved. There was an opportunity to talk to quite a high up politician about some of the challenges that we found and this, that, and the other. And my CEO said, I really think he's going to, respond better to a man in a suit with briefcase. And it's like, and I mean, I must have been 19 at this point, 19, 20. And I was actually a bit of a loudmouth, really. And I laughed because I couldn't believe that this was actually what was being said by someone that didn't understand the project. They hadn't had any involvement in it, and they were going to basically go and take the credit for all of my work. And I just put the chap on the spot, and I just said, I really think that would be a backward step in terms of the project was actually all about equality and diversity. And trying to sort of raise aspirations in a deprived area in the East Midlands. And he didn't really know what to do with me. He said that he was going to take it away and think about it. Unfortunately, he did go and take that to the politician guy. But yeah, I think that was probably my first encounter with an unfortunate sexist chap who was of a certain generation. And has retired now, so that's one down.
One down. We're picking them off. I love it. Yes, in short, but not for the past, and I'm counting, 8 years. So that's not too bad. So I do see society has changed and upgraded itself and come a little bit better, but there is still a lot of problems to do. My experience was essentially culturally related as well. It was, I hope I still am, but highly regarded in being able to deliver business training to anybody who wants to hear it, to be honest. Multiple cultures, multiple languages if needs be, and multiple platforms to be able to do that in. And there was a number of occasions where certain groups of cultures said we needed this support. I would go and talk to them about it. Be met at the door at least on 3 occasions to have the door closed in my face, then phoned while I'm still outside to say we can't let you in, you're a girl. So that happened at least 3 times, and it was very interesting because them companies have now gone, so I got, again, we got revenge. We got revenge. But like I said, it's been a good 8 years since I personally have experienced anything like that. But I know that through my job role and meeting a lot of women who are wanting to be entrepreneurs, who are running their own businesses, they're seeing this on a daily basis still. So I still think there is a lot of challenges out there. And we're getting there. It is getting better, but we're not there yet.
Jeez.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing those personal experiences with us. Any more questions, please? Yes.
I'm just building up to the previous question, and I wanted to ask that leaders often face stereotypes and biases, and this can impact your decision making and the team dynamics. How do you navigate around that? About stereotypes and biases for women in business? Thank you. Not my first case for that.
Yeah,
It's a hard question, that. I like it.
I'm just trying to think what the stereotype of a female social entrepreneur is.
Things such as that we see in the workplace that women are very emotional, or women cannot really handle the difficult tasks, or like you said before about the man in the suit, things like that. How do you
tackle that when you have to have a decision making and the team is not really maybe on board, or they don't really trust maybe your thought process, but you know that's what you need to do to push through it, and you see that there's some sort of bias there because maybe you're thinking it, oh, maybe she's too emotional about this, or she has put like her heart and soul into this, so she cannot really see the bigger picture. But sometimes it's not that. There's like other things playing parts of it.
Yeah, I would say I've not experienced that in my role at Junction Point. So I get to handpick who I work with. So if there was anyone that was going to make me feel uncomfortable like that, then they wouldn't be working with me. And I'm also known as Mrs. Spreadsheets rather than Mrs. Emotional. So I think I buck that trend. I'm more the sort of person that has to think, right, send something polite at the start of the email rather than straight into what I need somebody to do. So I think I probably have to be more emotional, perhaps. But it is something that I did struggle with early on in my career. Actually, it was the same job. So I actually got some coaching around this because there'd been a period of upheaval in this organisation, and at a very young age, I was put in quite a senior role to complete this project. And there wasn't enough time, there wasn't enough resource. And what I wanted to do was cry and say, like, you know, I'm working really hard. I was doing a 120-mile commute a day to keep up. It was insane. I was also studying for my degree at the time, so it was really, really crazy. And I couldn't find a way of articulating in a way that was businesslike enough for these people to take me seriously. And I got a work coach, and she was amazing, and she helped me to articulate really carefully. This is what you're trying to achieve. This is the resource that I have. So this is actually what I can achieve, which means that this isn't going to happen. And that's a very different way of approaching it to, I'm really stressed and I don't know what else I'm going to do. And so if that doesn't come naturally to you in being able to logically explain what it is that you're trying to achieve, it might be something that you could access some coaching for. I think that there's a time and a place for emotions, but I think either male or female in that leadership role, I don't think there is space for panic. And I think that quite often emotions are mistake. You know, it's panic that people don't like. It isn't that they don't want you to be happy or sad. It's just that they want to know that you're still holding the steering wheel. There's also a brilliant book called Dare to Lead by Brené Brown that talks about the flip side of that. And it's about harnessing that power of being vulnerable in how you're leading and allowing people to be part of your decision-making process. So it's not going too far the other way and being a dictator of this is what you have to do, but rather embracing that kind of female intuition and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, but in a way that is still of leadership quality, if that makes sense.
Such a hard question. I'm the same though. I haven't experienced that as well, but I think one of the things as a leader that I have in place is an open door policy. And I know lots of people who are managing and directing, especially large organisations, say, yes, I have an open door policy, talk to me about anything. I genuinely do. And I have a lot of my colleagues, but also a lot of my clients who will talk to me about things where I was not expecting, that's for sure. And that is something that needs sorted professionally from me, but also sympathetically from me as well. So I would say as a leader, when it comes to things like that, I'm sympathetic, I'm passionate, and I want to help them to help themselves as well. And that involves this open door policy. Talk to me if you're too certain. And if there's anything I can do, I can help you. I've got a chainsaw. It's that type of thing. But that's quite an interesting question that I'm also going to be thinking about on my way home on the bus and seeing if I've got any more responses for you as well.
I'm nearly slept there. I don't actually have that problem with people I work with, but with the supplier. Yeah. He doesn't respect women at all. So sometimes I go home, I cry, but I don't cry in front of him. I try to tell him what I think. If I don't, he's the biggest supplier we have, and he's not quite nice. So I tell him what I want, what I think. If he doesn't want, I just let it go. And the way he talks to women is like, you are like this. It's not just with me. Everybody who works with him, that's who he is. For people who work with me, I just tell them what to do. I'm short. If I'm not serious, they won't respect me. So I try to find a way to make them keep quiet. That's it.
Thank you. I think that it's time for bringing our lovely online audience in as well. We have a couple of questions. So I'll start with the first one. So what is your tips to get investor or banks to grow your business?
Don't do it organically.
Don't do
my terrible tip is don't grow your business organically without the need for an investor or a bank to help you grow your business. If your business wants to grow and it needs to grow, then it will do that organically through its community and things like that. But then the other side of it is, because obviously as a business advisor, I do help people go for investment to make what I would call the changes that they want to make in society quicker than what they could if they did grow organically, is know your figures. Be the queen of spreadsheets, as we call Kate. Know what your result, again, goes back to impact. Know what your impact is, know what your results are, and know what that investment and that financial investment, but also that additional support that you'll get from investors and banks is going to allow you to do to grow your business, to grow yourself in your knowledge and your experience, but also support your community as well.
I was on a call actually this morning about social investment, so investment that's specifically for social enterprises and charities. And one of the speakers said, how many of you have got loans or have taken out debt? And pretty much everybody put their hand up. So this was mortgages, credit cards, car, finance, all those kinds of things that we almost don't even think about in our day-to-day life, because we know our paycheck is going to come in, and if it doesn't, we'll get another one. We don't seem to have that same confidence when it comes to our businesses. And it was just a really interesting contrast that's absolutely true. People sign up to hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of debt for their homes, but borrowing 10 grand for their business suddenly feels too risky. So I would say maybe don't ignore this as an option. I think that social finance is something that is becoming bigger for this sector, and I think that we need to, maybe cautiously, but we need to learn more about it, explore it, and keep helping people to refine their packages to be useful. In terms of finding out and accessing those loans, I'm not sure where this person's based, but certainly across the UK, the social investment opportunities, it's vast. So you've got Key Fund, you've got Big Issue Invest. There's hopefully going to be one coming out shortly with the North of Tyne Combined Authority. And they all have slightly different packaged offers, which could include part grant. It could include holidays for you to, you don't have to pay it back straight away, and really favourable terms that means that you can access this money. Great thing with social investors is that quite often they don't ask for your personal security, which is very unusual for the social sector. So even if you wanted to take out an overdraft with your bank, they'll probably ask for some sort of director's assurance. So that means if everything goes horribly wrong, your limited company, which is supposed to protect you from that, won't, because you signed a document to say that you're liable for that money. So I would say have a good look at the social investors. I think once you've spoken to one, because they are quite often social enterprises themselves, if they can't help you, they're going to really try hard to get you to the right place that you can access that support.
I think you said everything already. I just want to tell the person that Africa was still going on because of investors. Key Fund, Big Issues. We've been there. So
yeah,
it's a good opportunity.
Great, thank you very much. So moving on to the second one, if I interpret that properly, then the question is whether it is feasible to set up a target in a second year social enterprise having a positive revenue.
Depends.
Yeah, I think that's really going to depend on the business model and their launch plan. So if you've got, as Melissa's saying, if you're choosing to not take out finance and you're growing something organically, then that's potentially going to take you a bit longer. As social enterprises, the aim is to be developing a profit that then can be used to reinvest towards the purpose that you're working on. So yeah, I mean, the ideal would be from day one that that's possible. But it really depends, I think, on the business, the industry, and the all of the context around that particular business, I think. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, exactly the same answer. To be fair, if you think you can make a positive revenue out of your second year of business, out of the forecasting that you've done, and the launch of that business, then you will. Absolutely. So yeah, don't see why not. You could make it in the first week. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Brilliant, thank you. And the last one is about quantifying your profit and how we can capture that in social enterprises. So is this about the profit, or is this about the impact, the level of improvement that you can bring in the community?
Can you start the question again, please?
So again, based on my interpretation, it is about how we can quantify the profit for social enterprises. Because from a financial perspective, we have the numbers, but in a social enterprise, we need to measure the impact, which cannot be measured with numbers strictly. So how can we do that? How can we measure that impact to the society or the environment?
If I take my organization, for example, if I manage to help 20 women find a job this year, I need to put that down. That is social impact in the community. It's not money, but it's a profit, social profit. Mm-hmm. Women have jobs. They are not isolated anymore. They can look after themselves. They are independent. That's part of our objective. Mm-hmm. And the money-wise, even if I make £1,000 a year, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. Thank you, Afi. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's quite a few. One of the things that's great about the social enterprise sector is that it is so varied, and there's so many different business models that you can use. So if you have got a profit-making plan, so if you're going to run a car wash to generate money that you're going to donate to Save the Whales, then really the impact that you're going to be measuring is how much money you're giving to Save the Whales. So that's an easy one. You then have operational models. So it could be that it's a cafe that's being run and they're offering work experience or work placements for people who might not necessarily have access to them ordinarily. So the money is being generated through the cafe, but it's also being spent by the cafe running. So then you've got that dual activity going on where it's both impact and it's income. I think keeping track of your profits is really important. It's something that quite often we're so busy running our organisations that we forget to do. So for us at Junction Point, quite often we do a lot of pro bono support. So we give loads of time away, but this is never tracked anywhere. So when we get to the end of the year and we're trying to explain what it is that we've done with our profits, it's like, oh, what have we done? So it's making sure that you've got the systems and processes in place. So for us, we've now put in place Calendly, which is brilliant if you don't already use it. And we can look at how many appointments we've done and all that kind of stuff. So we can track where we've used that money that is going to be paying for my time or a consultant's time to work with that person. So the indicators are really going to depend on your business model and what it is you're trying to achieve. If you haven't got a theory of change in place, I would really recommend looking at that. There's oodles of stuff on YouTube, but there's loads of different ways of capturing that. I think, theory of change would be the first point, but make sure you turn it into an evaluation matrix. Don't just look at it as a pretty picture. Make sure that you're using it to identify the KPIs that you're going to monitor and how, and that should then be able to give you those numbers.
If you're not familiar with theory of change, Google it, look it up. It's really, really important. I think absolutely mirroring what these guys said. I don't need to add anything more, but if you want to see an example of an impact report, go on our website, www.pne.org. One of the news articles on there is our 2023 report of impact that we released February this year. That essentially will show you, not doing that as a plug to P&E by the way, but it'll show you how we measure our impact and how we publicly tell people what we've done with those profits, because those profits for a social enterprise do not go to our salaries. They go to run a project that is needed, that is unfunded from elsewhere as a pilot to prove that it will work so other people can deliver it later, for example. So really have a look at that impact report on there and you'll see the type of examples that you would put into that. But theory of change is amazing. You need to look that up if you're not familiar with it, definitely.
Brilliant. So I have to thank Mel, Kate and Afi for being with us for fruitful discussions and for sharing personal and professional experience with us. I'll head up that to Rebecca.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a million. Hello everyone, I'll be really, really brief. Just want to bring this really insightful event to a close and give our heartfelt gratitude to the panellists who've been wonderful. I think there is wisdom here for all of us in all types of organisations beyond just social enterprise. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you also to our audience for your engagement, insightful participation, really great questions. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for our online audience as well. I would like to give a special thank you. I've got to face the camera, yes, thank you. Thank you, online audience. I'd also like to thank my friend Amy Fallon at the United Nations who helpfully put us in contact with them. Thank colleagues. I would like to give special thanks to June and Ingrid, to Ali for doing a wonderful job with the logistics and organising this and making it a really lovely, seamless experience for us all. And finally, just to say, please stay for some networking. We've got wonderful food here and drinks. And also to introduce, there's an event directly following this one, the Startup Network event is on directly after this, where they'll be talking about idea generation, value creation, innovation. So please, if you can, stay for that event, which is on immediately after this one. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much again. Thank you.
So I found the event very empowering, and I'm meeting those people that actually are in the leading positions. It was so amazing and really inspires me to take those steps forward and maybe also doing my own thing.
Yeah, I found the event really inspiring and very organized, and I feel like it gave us an opportunity to network and to learn new things. I think that I'll use the advice they gave us from the panel in my career and also in my studies.